Hello, this is Surplus Sound. Now, today we're going to be reviewing a pair of Soviet hand crank hair clippers. So, as you can see, I've got the original box here, as well as you'll see there's the original tags and all that stuff going on here. Now, before we start, I just want to say that if you buy these, a big thing about them is you're going to have to learn how to sharpen them, and we will go over that in this video. We're going to learn about maintenance, things of that nature. But for now, let me show you the box, and then let me show you the contents. There's your hair clippers. Now, normally they'll come coated in Cosmoline, and how I cleaned them was I took it apart, or first I believe what I did was I boiled a pot of boiling hot water, and I dipped these in there. Well, then I would take them apart, which is another thing we'll go over in this video, and I individually cleaned every single piece with boiling hot water, getting the Cosmoline off. Now, if I'm not mistaken, it looks like I've used these about a little bit before this video, so it looks like I need to clean them again. But today I'm going to show you how to take them apart, maintain them, sharpen them, at least how I've been doing it. And I'll even show you how they work in terms of cutting hair, because it's time for a haircut. Usually y'all see me with a buzz cut. But this is how I do it, sometimes, if I want to save money. Well, anyway, with that, let's begin. So, now for starters, what we're going to do is we're going to take your clippers. You'll see that there's this little thing right here, this little thing you twist around. Now, you might have to hold the little screw here on the bottom to keep it steady, keep it still, but you'll twist that around. Now, make sure whenever you're doing this, you're keeping the part somewhere safe. So there comes the top. Then here comes the little keeper that kind of holds it in place, keeps the pressure on it. Then, of course, the screw. Now, you also want to take off the little protector. And you want to, there's your blade. There's the top blade. And of course, there's the handle. So now we've disassembled it. Now, as you can see, it's a little bit dirty because I've used it before. Basically, what I do is I'll take like a rag or cloth of some kind, clean it out, and that helps with long-term storage, keeping it clean after use, because you don't want the hair staying in there forever. I just obviously forgot to do that. But if you want to, which I wouldn't recommend, remove this. I believe that takes a screwdriver, but I just leave that alone, because if right now it's fine where it is. It's not something I really take out. I believe it has a spring in there, so I try to leave that alone. Now, reassembly. It's a very simple process. You just do what you did, but in reverse. Clearly the thing that's, yep, it's a spring. So clearly the handle here, you kind of put a little pressure on it whenever you're putting the main deal in, because see, it holds in the middle, so that puts pressure on it to keep it in place. So I've let it go. Now I take the bottom blade. Now this is what goes in, this is what stays out. So there we go. Now I take the bottom screw. I put the keeper on. Now with the keeper, you'll notice there's this little flat area. Usually it's not flat, but that lets me know where I stop. See, I tightened it to a certain point where I know to stop, and it's flat and it's adjacent. You don't want it too flat. So, now I take this. I go until it barely touches the top of the keeper, and that's where I turn the keeper. I keep it, where it needs to be. And then I start to slowly screw it while making sure it stays where it needs to stay. And I screw it to a point that it does not make this bend anymore. And then I test it. And it seems like it's working perfectly now. So as you see, that was the maintenance. That was taking it apart, or at least that's part of form maintenance. Now, I'm going to take it apart again, and I'm going to show you how I sharpen it. I take a grindstone. I probably should have done this before putting it back together, but I want to make sure y'all get the most quality content I can give. So now I'm going to take it apart again. This will give you another refresher. Now, you can sharpen the bottom and the top both. Now, what I do is I take the side that's for light, and I keep it flat. And I do this for a little bit. And this is something I do normally before every time I cut my hair, because I met a gentleman who served in the Soviet military who told me that with these clippers, you're in for a bad time if you do not sharpen them before use, because after every use they dull, and you don't want to cut your hair with dull clippers because it'll hurt. Apparently, even in the modern Russian military, to some extent, these are still used. And troops back then and now both have the same opinion of this. They suck, usually. They suck. And that's probably because they're not being maintained, they're not being sharpened very well. But now, I've got it sharp. I've got that one sharpened. Now it's time for the top blade. And again, it's just the same thing over and over again. I just do this. Now, the other side of this grindstone is for really, really dull metal. And this isn't too dull, so I don't want to overdo it. So I'm just using the light one. I'm going through, keeping it on the metal as flat as possible. Now, you're probably wondering where to stop. I just kind of guesstimate, but considering that I usually sharpen these every time, I imagine it doesn't take too long for me. Okay. So now, of course, I'm going to show y'all reassembly one more time, and then we're going to move on to hair cutting. Take your handle. Oh, and you always want that on the spring. Make sure it's there. We go. Now, aren't those nice looking hand cranks? Now, for the next part of the video, we will be moving on to cutting hair. All right. Now, we're moving on to cutting hair. Sometimes, depending on where I'm at, I like to put a little something around my around my neck, just to kind of give me some protection. Not going to do much, you know, it's basically just to keep the hair off my body. Now, whenever I do this, I typically bring a mirror of some kind. It's a little funny, I'm sure, but you want to have a mirror, even in a little handheld, so that you can closely observe and look at things on your head. Now, it's going to be kind of hard to do it on the back without a helper, but you can do it. So I'm going to try and cut my hair and show y'all how good this works. Now, I will say this. I've used these 2, 3, 4 times maybe now. And they are a little rough. But as long as you keep them sharp, they're not as rough as they could be. So with that, take my hand cranks. And first, I'm going to start with my sideburns right around here. As you see, I got to consistently keep cranking as I'm doing this. This helps me get the cranks free of my hair. Now, as you can see, it's a little rough initially, but as you keep going, it will. Sorry about that little interruption. So, as I was saying, but as you go through and start cutting, you'll notice that eventually it will clean up a lot better as you go. Now, you also get a little bit of carpal tunnel from this, because you know your hand is cranking while you're cutting. So you know it's usually good to have a friend help you with this. But as you can see, it's cutting. However, it is a process. Now, it does hurt a little bit, but if you're ever in a situation where you got no electric clippers, this is not a bad option. I'm trying to keep my head straight as much as I can. Now, it's always good to do this on what I got is a little table outside with a thing on it. Now, as you can see, shaved it off. These are mostly for shaving. Basically shaving it all off. Now, you want to try to keep your skin as straight as possible. Kind of like a straight razor almost, from my understanding. You want to try and keep it smooth and straight. So as you can see, I've shaved that side, and I'm going to go ahead and take a look. Oh yeah, it's shaved it clean. Now, like I said, this is a process, but basically I'm going to do my whole head. And what I like to do is, I start at the top here, and I hold it down. And I just keep doing this until I get my whole head. Now, these are good for camping or something if you got to cut your hair or something like that. Just because they don't run on electricity, you can maintain them. Now, like I said, you're going to have a pretty shaved head when it's all said and done. I'm going to go ahead and take this off just because it's a little hot out here and I need freedom of movement. So, I'm going to find where I haven't gotten yet. It's always good that after you're done, you go ahead and review it as much as you can. Or else you might have some missed spots here and there. And you don't want to look like you came out of a bad barber shop. That's why it's always good that after you get the main bit of hair, it's always good to go back over it a second time, feel your head. Now, as you can see, I got a little bit there that I'm missing. Like I said, with modern technology and mirrors, doing this by yourself isn't too bad. However, if you didn't have those things, you're just going to have to kind of be a lot more thorough. Now, I'm going to go ahead and go down the center. And now that I've gotten this side, I'm going to get this side, and then we'll go to the top. There we go. Take it like a man. Like I said, these are not comfortable, but they could be worse. Especially if you got really thick hair, like mine. There we go. But they do work. It's like shearing a sheep, I guess. Try to get them under. There you go. You see there? It's coming together. And like I said, what helps me is knowing that I sharpen them. Now, like I said, if I didn't sharpen them, this would be 10 times worse. So, like I said, I try to keep them nice and steady. Okay, we're coming together, Like I said, this is a long process. It don't take, like, too long. But if you want it to not hurt so much, you wouldn't be rushing it. In my case, I'm just kind of doing as fast as I can, or at least a moderate speed. Because like I said, my hands get tired. And also because I probably should have sharpened them a little bit longer, but it's not bad. There we go. Yeah, take it like a man. And again, to think this was a standard for hair cutting at one point for somebody. The good thing about it is when you shave your head, it takes a while to grow back. So, let's see here. Best way to do this. And like I said, when you put a little pressure on it, it kind of helps because it's flat, it's going a lot more smoothly. So now I'm going to it's coming together. Now, like I said, this isn't the most modern way of cutting hair, But if you're just wanting a cheap buzz cut, and you're not wanting to pay a bunch of money for something that you can do yourself and really doesn't require any skill, really, well, I mean, except for working these, then these aren't a bad option for on the budget haircutting. Now, like I said, they are uncomfortable. They hurt a little bit, but they're not the worst thing I've ever used to cut my hair. Especially what I like to do after I'm done is on the ear there. I like to go back around, especially to the back, because that is the one that can be the trickiest, because you got some people have a little deal in their neck there. I think it's the nape of the neck. And that's the part you really don't want to miss. Let me get a little more right here. Now, I guess this part of the head where I'm at, the temple, is a lot more sensitive. But overall, like I said, not the worst way to cut your hair. Now, we've gotten the majority of the sides. Now, I like to do a little touch up around the ears, just because that's one of the hardest areas to get. You don't want a bunch of fuzz hanging out your ears. So, now what I do with the hair is, usually I can either start from side to side, or I can go down the middle and just go out, look like a clone trooper for a minute. But what I like to do most of the time is I start from one side and I make like a mohawk. Sorry about that. And like I said, I just try to keep to the contour of my head the whole way. And I actually have done a mohawk with these before. I just basically just had to angle them right. But basically, you just, let's see here, there we go. My hand's getting a little carpet tunnel. There we go. Just had to hold it down for a second. And like I said, you just keep doing this. I'm almost done for the most part. Like I said, there's a little bit of post-haircut maintenance. But for the most part, we are cooking with fire. Oh yeah, we're almost there. Just gotta keep going. There we go. It's good to kind of get an idea of where your angles are. Good. Like I said, it's always good to go back over the spot twice and make sure you got it even. It's always good. All right. Now for the next part. Mm-hmm. There we go. Almost. I'm kind of going a little fast here. You can tell I'm wincing a little bit. But got to keep a good spirit. Almost done. All right, just getting it lined up. All right, a little bit of craziness there. All right, we've got most of it, and this is the section where you'll see me going back over it a little bit, just making sure we got everything. Yep, definitely right there behind the ears. Like I said, the ears are one of the easiest to miss. I see there's a little spot right there. But yeah, I am no stranger to this by this point. That's it. It's always good to. I'm doing the nape of the neck. Yep, this is the weirdest spot to get. But it's always good to do, because you never know what you're going to find. Like I said, it's very challenging, but doing your own hair with these are possible. But I would definitely recommend having someone help you first, second time, just because you might need to get used to it, and because there's a lot you can miss when you're doing this yourself. All right, now let's take a look at what I've got. A few little spots up top. Like I said, these are not the best clippers in the world, but they get the job done for a Soviet conscript of the year in which they were made. Keeping your hair short and at least as nice and tidy as it can be. Now, I would always recommend that after you do this, you wash your head off or something just to get the hair off. But also just keep an eye out for anything you might have missed when you're looking in the mirror, if you can. In my case, it's always the back of the neck. It's always the back of the neck. You always want to try to keep it as flat as possible. You know, the easiest time I ever had to cut my hair, I had a mohawk. I just had one strip I had to do. But for this video, that should do it. Let me just get one more thing and then we'll end the video. Now, in closing, as always, I am Surplus Hound. If you have any questions about what I just showed you, how it feels, anything like that, or where I got them, feel free to message me in the comments. I hope this informational video was educational and informative of anything you need to know before buying this product. And as always, I wish you a good day, my surplus addicts. Keep it koosty.